WWE is in talks with AEW's Cody Rhodes. Well, now he's no longer with AEW, but if they're in talk with Cody Rhodes, obviously it's going to cost them a lot of money. So let's play fantasy booker for a second. Let's look at this for a second. Cody Rhodes goes to WWE and gets paid millions of dollars. Or Cody Rhodes stays in AEW and can never fight for the AEW World Championship again. But if we're fantasy booking this, let's fantasy book this. Maybe Cody Rhodes takes a long-awaited break, goes and becomes a father, right? His daughter was just born. Now he can go take a break, be with his daughter. Oh, snap. He's in contract talks with WWE and AEW, and then boom, next thing you know, he ultimately chooses to sign with AEW only if he is allowed to have an AEW world title shot. And then Cody Rhodes fully turns heel. See, that's fun fantasy booking. My thing is not necessarily to be... In this live stream, my job is not necessarily to play fantasy booker, but I just fantasy book something for you. So we go back 2 months, Cody's comments, whatever. But I think Cody Rhodes is also in a very interesting predicament because I think Cody Rhodes, you know, when you have Ariel Helwani talking about Cody Rhodes being in talks with WWE, imagine Cody and Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. I can't wait to see the type of hate that gets. Because, you know, that's what makes the most sense. What a strange, strange day. There is no reports that WWE is for sale. We have already discussed this. I'm not going to discuss this. By the way, I've talked about this plenty of times. WWE will never tell you that they are for sale. WWE has always publicly acknowledged that they are willing to take calls and they're always open for business. Whatever these rumors are for WWE that's for sale, don't believe them. When you got stockholders and people involved, don't worry about rumors of a sale. Let alone any sort of rumor that some bullshit ass YouTube channel puts out saying that AEW is going to buy WWE. Because I see that shit too. It gets popped up in my Discord. It's fake news. But I'm very, very curious. Maybe Cody Rhodes saw that Tony Khan and AEW is not everything that they promised they would be. I don't know. But it very well could be the summer of Cody Rhodes in WWE. Oh my God. I want to see what it's going to look like when AEW does not have Cody Rhodes on their program and Cody Rhodes shows up in WWE. That's what I want to see. But I have been very, very firm with this idea that Cody Rhodes, if I had to believe something, Cody Rhodes is in a very tricky situation, and I want to explain why. AEW is currently they're currently busy putting on a good show. But also, you got to keep in mind, Brandi and Cody have their own show on TBS or TNT, whatever one it is. So what? What happens if they show up in WWE? What happens if they show up in WWE, but they're still doing a show that's being produced by the people that run AEW? You see what I mean? It's pretty crazy stuff. I'm reading the chat. Let's see some chats. By the way, if you guys want to do a super chat, go ahead and do a super chat. Whatever you want. If you guys do a super chat, I'll be able to read your comments on the screen. All that good stuff. This is a crazy, crazy day. I have never seen anything like this in my life. Since covering AEW. I always wondered who would be the first person in AEW to be out of AEW. And honestly, I predicted MJF. Very, very interesting stuff. So right now, I'm reading in the chat, there's people that believe Cody could go back to Japan or maybe Ring of Honor. Guys, the belief is that Cody Rhodes is actually in talks. There's this belief that Cody Rhodes is actually in talks with WWE. Sean Ross Sapp and Ariel Helwani both have reported this. And again, we don't know. I mean, I don't know what to, personally speaking, I don't know what to tell you guys in terms of sorry that I just lost my train of thought. I'm just reading the chat. But basically, guys, here's the thing. I never thought Cody would be the first one to go to AEW, to leave AEW. And I want to be able to provide you guys legitimate updates on it as they come out. But right now, there isn't any other than the fact that he is in talks with WWE. That is pretty insane to think about, quite honestly. I would love to bring somebody in here. Do I have any of my VIP members? Is there any of my VIP members? I would love to bring in one of my VIP members into this call. Let's check my Discord server. If you guys are a VIP member, you can technically do a live call-in with Discord. Let's see who I got online. Okay, I see we got Billy Davis, Cult of Personality, Kid Panda 13, Larry, NYC Zach, QV13T, Rev, Davey Thompson, Tony Pizza Guy, Robin. Hey, if one of you are watching this, you are one of the VIP members that are currently enrolled into VIP access on Discord, let me know, and I'll be happy to bring you in. We can talk about this. This is the most insane. This is the most insane thing I've ever covered since covering AEW, which is absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hey, Bladestorm Viking, I'm not a piece of shit, so when I read your comment, I'm just going to call it out like it is. If you want to provide legitimate updates, then stop imagining what you wish to be true and report only proven facts. I don't know if you know this or not, so I'll just explain this to you. I literally said, as they come out, I will talk about them. So, just so you're aware, yeah, as they come out, I'll talk about them. As of right now, there aren't any. So we're just hanging out with my community, the community that I built on YouTube. I'm hanging out with my community, discussing fantasy booking, shooting the shit, having a good fucking time, because that's what I like to do. Anyways, what a time to be alive. We got AEW, we got WWE, we got Impact. I don't really give a shit which one you like. I think if you like wrestling, you should like wrestling. Let's bring in Kid Panda 13. We're going to give him a call. Let's see if I could get him in here. If he joins. Austin.
Yo, what's up, dude?
How are you, man?
Great. I just am so shocked of the Cody stuff, dude.
I know, man. I am honestly... Well, let me ask you this, first of all, because we're still waiting for details, right? We're waiting for details. We still don't know exactly what's going on, but I feel like we should have this conversation. Do you think it's a work? Do you think it's legit? What do you think?
I'm thinking it's both, but here's where I'm thinking that like nobody's thinking in left field. I'm thinking he's the one to take down Matt Cardona for the NWA title.
Really?
Yeah, that's my left field pick that nobody's seeing coming.
So do you think that's a situation where maybe he is technically still going to go to AEW and then bringing the NWA belt to AEW? Or do you think he's literally just going to go to NWA and completely leave AEW? Because that's a very interesting take. But you got to think, like, if he's If he's going to NWA, I mean, the NWA is so small compared to AEW.
Oh no,
WWE.
I have this massive big plot that like he's gonna go take the summer of the Indies to like NWA to ROH to MLW to everywhere on the planet, and then he's gonna come home to AEW for like a one-off for saying like, oh, I'm gonna sign here, and then he's gonna leave and show up back at WWE for the Royal Rumble next year in January.
Damn. I don't know if I agree with you. I swear, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I agree, but let me say this. I would not be mad at that.
It's a great idea. It fits like all the things that he was talked about in interviews too.
Yeah, see, this is the thing that I love. This is why I want to do the chat, because right now the big issue that we have going on at the moment, unfortunately, is that there's a lot of rumors, right? And unfortunately, with wrestling, we have seen time and time again when there's these rumors, you never know what's true, what's not, whatever. And then you got people who do things to get a reaction out of the internet fan base because, and you know, I've said this a lot, right? But wrestling and wrestlers, they don't like the IWC. They don't like the people that pay their bills, essentially. And we kind of seen this with Taz, right? Taz recently tweeted something about people fantasy booking and complaining or praising or this and that. He's like, just shut up, basically. So, like, I feel like, not to get so far off from my original thought, but, like, I feel like we're in a situation with wrestling right now as it stands. When there is very little information, it actually becomes a fun thing to kind of fantasy book and, you know, live in fantasy land for a second. Like, the idea of Cody Rhodes running NXT to me would make a lot of sense. Do I think it's 100% possible? Shit, dude, at this point, I think AEW could bring Cody back and he can go for the AEW World Championship and this is all a work. You know what I mean? It's a very, very crazy topic. I've never seen anything like this, at least in AEW. You know what I mean? So it's a...
Yeah, I also find it kind of strange, though, as well, how he has yet to even post anything about like his own training facility in the factory and stuff like that on his YouTube page, which I have found very weird. Considering that's like the massive thing that he's been pushing.
Plus, they got the show with Brandi Rhodes, so that's another thing. Which to me is like, is this part of the show? You know,
that's what I think, because it technically leads in the renewal of the season. I think in September or October, because it's on HBO Max. I saw it recently, and I was like, well, that's really surprising.
This is so crazy. I have literally like, you know, it's funny because you know me. Sometimes we don't even agree with everything about WWE, but you know I still enjoy WWE and I still watch WWE and I still cover WWE, right? And I just think right now we're like, if he actually goes to WWE, this is going to be the biggest shift in pro wrestling, and I think the IWC will start to shift closer and closer to WWE again. I don't know. Do you agree with that? Or
absolutely
no?
Agreed.
You agree?
I think this might be like that Hogan turning moment that like you don't really see coming, but you can definitely see coming in the fragments of what happens in reality.
Dude, I mean, it's just so weird, dude. It's so weird. I don't know. I guess I feel like it's a weird thing because I think you're right, especially with the Hogan thing. But like, was Cody Rhodes always just meant to be a WWE guy?
I think so, because like when you look at like his career when he first started with like Ted and stuff like that, it makes sense that he would wind back up there. Plus, him saying that he didn't want to wrestle till past 40, it leaves completely indication that he's going to probably hang it up in WWE.
Yeah,
and probably come back as like, you know, the ambassador for AEW, as like the person you never see, but he's like funding them or something like that at the table or whatever.
So one of the biggest things that I always thought, and this is one of the things I've always believed throughout time, AEW and Cody Rhodes were like the perfect match because Cody to me was a WWE guy. And when I say WWE guy, I'm telling you that he's very kind. He's a very nice person. He's really good with the media. I think Cody Rhodes was very much like John Cena in the sense of like, okay, he could be mainstream. He could do movies. He could do television. I always felt like he carried himself publicly the right way, right? The suits, everything. And then also,
Oh, absolutely agreed.
and then when Cody Rhodes had his match with Dustin Rhodes, his brother, that to me was the greatest match I still believe to this day. And this is why people fucking hate me. But I'm not even gonna censor myself in the stream anymore. I don't care. I'm gonna shoot straight up. We got to the point in AEW, and this was my biggest concern. AEW just became a wrestling show. When AEW had Cody and Dustin Rhodes, to me, that was the fucking match that I was like, I love this. I love this match. That to me,
I'd also say that it was like massively the story that like like they haven't made like a story since then that like really felt like it connected with like the casual audience of me, because I don't sit through like every other wrestling show. I only watch like one promotion compared to like everybody else who's like so stagnant on one promotion, and that promotion doesn't even exist in the United States.
Yeah,
like that's what's crazy to me about the whole thing.
Yeah. That's why, it's just like, I think, Cody Rhodes, to me, is a WWE guy. He always was. And I find it to be a very interesting point for AEW, because I think the IWC will now shift a little bit more towards WWE. And, I think, I hope this is a lesson. Whether this is a work, whether this is a shoot, like, whatever it is, I hope this is a lesson for fans to be able to acknowledge that, like, AEW is not perfect. WWE is not perfect. Impact is not perfect. Wrestling is flawed. So don't get too attached to the company. Become more attached to the talent. Because at the end of the day, I look at Cody Rhodes as somebody who, right now, if he walks into WWE, it's a big deal. And I believe it changes the tides for WWE a little bit, right? And if Cody Rhodes
I think
beats,
it's like a massive fresh face, like in any division he shows up in, because it gives you like a fresh face who you could potentially build around.
And one thing I want to add when you say that, right? Now let's imagine some backstage stuff, right? Imagine Cody Rhodes is walking backstage and you have a guy like Finn Balor who's not being used, right? And he looks and sees Cody getting this attention and stuff. And it should make him feel a certain way, right?
Yeah, it's like how Hikaru Shida said just recently about like losing her spot. Like that's what you should always feel like in wrestling. I feel like it's kind of like in like other sports where you should feel the pressure to like do better in your career rather than resting on your laurels.
100%. This is a crazy day, dude. And it's like I've been pointing out the weaknesses in AEW, just like I point out the weaknesses in WWE. DQ finishes all the time. 50-50 booking all the time. It gets boring. But both companies have such a good roster. And that is the one thing I've noticed since I've been covering wrestling. I've been doing this YouTube shit since 2007, 2008, or whatever it was. And since I've been doing this, people like don't realize this because they just see this channel. They don't know my channels that I had before and when I was really doing it. But when I did this channel, I realized something. And that was, I compared this to 2014, 2015, because back on my old channel, I would cover TNA primarily, right? To me, I'm not.
Yeah, that actually was like the most fun times if we're going to talk about like real fun times in wrestling.
For sure. And for me, it was massive. Like I would do post shows every week for Impact, and Impact was massive. And then look how Impact fizzled out, and I get it. They self-destructed. Then they got new ownership, and what happened? Their new ownership, they took off. So now I'm watching AEW, and people are like, how can you critique AEW? Well, it's like, shit, dude, I've been around the block for a minute. I seen in the past what happened when you make simple mistakes. And I see what happens when you chase a hardcore fan base. A hardcore fan base is the one who's going to turn on you the quickest, because the minute you stop doing what they want you to do, they get away from it.
Well, I also think like when the AEW started going into like those insider dirt sheet terms, like the heel, and shit like that, like is what really started making me not like the product anymore, because it's just like, dude, nobody gives a rat's ass about that. Just go with what your wrestling is known for.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. And the thing is, at the end of the day, we have seen a lot of people try this wrestling business out, right? We've seen these small companies come and go, and the reason why they end up the biggest reason why some of these companies never last, or the reason why they have issues, is because we have seen time and time again mismanagement, talent leaving, too many signings, not enough good storylines. I mean, there's always been some sort of thing that's like preventing people from growing. And AEW has kind of gotten, granted, they've been around for around 3 years at this point. AEW has still kind of gotten pretty damn far because they have huge capital. They have somebody with a lot of money. But it makes me scared that, like, even if this is a storyline, right? Look at public perception right now. Right now, the public perception for AEW is bad. And that just goes to show you how valuable Cody is. And I think that is the craziest part of this all. And that's what makes me scared for AEW going forward, because it's like, okay, Cody Rhodes leaving is actually way bigger than MJF. It's way bigger than Shawn Spears. It's way bigger than Wardlow, because those were some names we thought, okay, they might go to WWE or might return to WWE and whatnot. But you look at like somebody like Cody, who literally started the company with Tony Khan, and he's leaving. If this is a fake storyline, right? If this is all a storyline and this is just a work, I mean, the perception right now is negative. People are not happy right now.
That would make them so incompetent. It wouldn't even be funny. It'd be like when Russo did that thing in TNA where like he fired their champion and he came back like the next week.
Yeah.
It would be that much incompetence in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. I see a lot of conversation too, and I'm curious what you think. I've seen a lot of conversation. I've seen some people say like, oh, after all the things Cody Rhodes has said about WWE and smashing the throne, how can he go back there? Doesn't he look like a hypocrite? And
look what Hogan did.
I know.
When he was gone.
I mean, dude, it's business, dude. It's
exactly,
business.
And it's like, who's going to pay you the most money, and what are you going to really invest in? Have your fans invest in more? Like, are you going to lean more into the people who hate you, or lean more into the people who love you? Like, go into that and feel more loved on that part than going into the hateful part.
I look at it from a very interesting perspective too, because I used to run businesses for people. Before I went full time with YouTube, and the biggest thing is when you're in a business, right, and you got money on the line and money's poured into the business, your number one goal is how can I make more money and how do I not lose money? And then I launched a YouTube. I launched a full-time career into YouTube because I kept thinking to myself, I was like, okay, I can't imagine working for somebody and making them a shit ton of money when I feel like I should be doing the same thing for myself, right? And so now now I'm a full-time YouTuber, and it's like, okay, I take super chats, I get memberships, but at the end of the day, I have to invest that back into my channel because I want to grow this into more than what I'm doing right now, right? But at the end of the day, it's a business. So it is a business. It's a business where I actually, thank God, I love what I do. I love watching wrestling. I love talking wrestling. I love that I could bring people together, right? And there's a lot of shit that comes with it, but I love what I do. Now, at the end of the day, it is a business. Why? Because it's 100% sole income. Plus, also on top of that, if I need something to operate my business, a microphone, a computer screen, whatever it is, those are business expenses, right? Now, at the end of the day, as a business, your number one goal is to make more money than you're spending. And WWE has gotten to a point where they can spend as much money as they want and it doesn't really hurt them. AEW has a lot of money, but at the end of the day, there is way more risk associated with them spending their money. So I look at Cody Rhodes, for example. And if I'm Cody Rhodes, I'm taking the fucking money. It doesn't matter. I'm taking the money. I'm taking the opportunity for my long-term future. And I think right now, what we are seeing, if this is in fact real, I think we are seeing that WWE is in a situation where they're going to give a lot to Cody Rhodes. At the end of the day, Cody Rhodes could be disgruntled about how he was used in WWE in the past, right? He could be disgruntled of booking and whatnot. But it's not like Cody and Vince McMahon don't have a relationship. And they go way back. And obviously the Dusty Rhodes connection, to me, it's like, look, if I'm Cody Rhodes, I'm taking the fucking money and I'm gonna do what's asked of me. And if Cody Rhodes goes to WWE and the booking sucks, at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter because they know what the hell they're signing up for. We might not like it as fans, but Cody Rhodes should know ahead of time if he goes into WWE, he might have some shitty booking. You know?
It should be one of those things where I don't understand how like all these companies sign people and they don't foresee what happens when they claim they watch the program, and I just put like massive air quotes when I said that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that though. That's 100% true because, and I always go back, and this is why I always talk about this. I talk about this a lot, okay? And it's one of the things that people I think hate the most about me on my channel, honest to God. I say this. I say AEW is a great wrestling company. They're a good wrestling show. Everything else they suck at. And
I think I think you're right about that. It's just it just depends on how it's exposed in like the most people. Like look at the Matt Hardy Sammy Guevara ladder accident, where like that was like horribly done on them and for like the longest time, and then nobody talked about it when other companies did that, and then yet it always comes back to tribalism, and it's like if you just canceled tribalism for like 10 seconds, wrestling would be way more fun for people who don't want to sit through getting waves and waves of the fan backlash of it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, you're right on the money. And then also too, you got to think one major thing that a lot of people don't realize is like AEW has such a good roster that they'll always put on great wrestling matches too, right? So when you mentioned the Matt Hardy and the Sammy Guevara thing, like that was crazy, but that was met with a lot of criticism. And what happens right after? Okay, people forget about it. You know what I mean? And I think for as long as AEW exists, they just have to learn how to like prevent those kind of issues, because I think AEW is here for the long haul. I really do. I think for a long time, I think he's here for the long haul. But I also believe that Cody Rhodes is in a situation right now as it stands. I think regardless of Cody Rhodes being there or not, AEW will succeed. But I don't think
100%.
I don't. Yeah, 100%.
Not a doubt in my mind.
100%. But I think Cody Rhodes leaving could expose a lot about AEW, which will then change the minds of certain people in WWE who then ask for their release. Because let's face it, people want to leave WWE. Why? Because I'm getting booked like shit in WWE, but I can go into AEW and do this and this and this. Well, unfortunately, being able to do this, this, and this might not actually mean anything in the long run. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that, actually. It fits completely with what like the narrative driven by the IWC is really about when you think about it.
100%. It is. I mean, it really... And to me, I don't stick with the narrative. Andrew Zarian, by the way, I do want to point this out. So Andrew Zarian did in fact mention that Cody's team has been in contact with WWE as well. So just for further, you know, like I said, tonight I'll probably have a more like organized video with more organized thoughts and more details. But Andrew Zarian, Ariel Helwani, and Sean Ross Sapp have all joined in on the conversation that Cody is actually in talks with WWE. So now that leads me to another question, Austin.
Yo,
if Cody joins WWE, one, when does he debut? And two, how would you book it?
I think you have to debut him right away. I think you got to put him into the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar feud. You got to find a way to like get Brock back onto Bobby, because that'll bring bigger numbers. And then you have the Cody Roman thing that's never happened, and you can push it as the guy who left the company, getting his, you know, the story of getting his entire like redemption arc of like him falling at the wayside to bringing into the greatest leaps and bounds of how professional wrestling is.
So,
and it would show like the IWC that like it's not just about how toxic it is, but how good wrestling can be portrayed as transitional people.
So really quick, I want to add a thought into there, but before I do that, James Clark, thank you for becoming a member. I want to say thank you. I just saw that it popped up, but I didn't want to interrupt Austin. So thank you for becoming a member. Please send me an email at tony@destinationpw.com. This way I can get you in the VIP access for Discord. Austin, I want to mention something. I want to fantasy book something. You gave me an idea in my head, and because I do agree with you. I think Cody Rhodes, if this is not a work, right? I think Cody Rhodes needs to end WrestleMania on top. Roman Reigns defeats Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns holding the belt. Cody Rhodes comes out and hits him with what's his finisher called? God, it's gonna kill me. I can't remember now. Crossroads. Jesus Christ, I can't believe I almost forgot that. He's got to hit a Crossroads to end WrestleMania Night 2. Woo! I would go absolutely insane. That would be freaking crazy. And then what does Cody
It's not
Rhodes
even that. Like, if they had a Money in the Bank or anything, he'd have to win that too. Like, you have to like push him immediately to the moon. It would be the biggest mistake not to do that.
Can you imagine if they put Cody Rhodes in like the freaking lower card? Can you freaking imagine?
They would be dustying him just like how when he was about to leave too. Yeah. He would be dusty all over again. And the IWC would jump on that as the lightning rod to like bash WWE completely for years.
Nah, dog. I'm just saying, people. Dude, it's the funniest thing because I literally covered WWE and AEW, and I still can't get over in my mind how in the hell Cody Rhodes is the first guy to leave AEW for WWE. Like, it is not. I see a lot of people in the comment section, by the way, and in the chat. And guys, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying it's not a work. All right, let me just point this out because I need to make myself clear. I'm not saying it's not a work. But you got to stop this whole defending AEW shit. Because I thought
for sure it was going to be Moxley if we're going to keep it 100.
No, I didn't think Moxley because of his book, dude. He really fucking hates WWE.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I thought it was going to be, like, if I hadn't read his book, I thought for sure, like, out of the people provided, it definitely would have been Moxley number one.
Who knows, dude? This is the craziest shit I have ever seen in my life. And I still see people in my chat. They're like, "Oh, it's career suicide. It's this. It's that." Dude, if you really hate WWE that much, I don't know how the hell you get excited for Keith Lee joining AEW. I don't know how you get excited for people joining AEW when they come from WWE. Because at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, WWE is not fucking perfect, but I genuinely don't think AEW is perfect. And I've been on record saying this. I've been saying this. You know me, Austin. You've seen me in the Discord server too. And that's another thing. I've been in the Discord server, and like, people will sit there and they will get pissed about something WWE does or AEW, and they won't talk factually. They talk with their opinions, and I have to like present them facts. And when I notice
that's the one thing that like Tribalism just like completely shuts down about. It's hilarious.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, opinions aren't facts. So like, at the end of the day, I see this happening in wrestling a lot. You're presenting an opinion as fact. That's a problem. That is a huge problem to me. I will never understand it because at the end of the day, and I've said this before, I don't really care what type of wrestling you like. I am not going to be bothered if you don't enjoy WWE. I understand it's not for you. But to sit there and have this negative attitude about everything, and then, by the way, the company that you love to frickin' defend until death, they mess up or something bad happens and they're getting publicly shamed or people aren't happy with it, like, you gotta have some sort of thing to, like, I don't know, man. People gotta change their behavior with this. I think that's the most important thing because I think people.
Please, it's getting really hard to enjoy wrestling. Like, that's why I've switched into watching Tokyo Joshi Pro, that like nobody's ever heard of and nobody watches, and the fans are wonderful people.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I get it. I understand that people love AEW. I understand that people love WWE. But to sit here and say that WWE doesn't suck or WWE, like. Here's the thing, WWE, most importantly, I've been saying this. I was like, damn, Raw has been getting really good, right? But, like, you can't say WWE Raw sucks if the last time you watched it was 2018. You know what I mean? You can't say AEW sucks when the last time you watched it was Fyter Fest 2019. You gotta actually watch it to then be able to form an opinion. Like, that's how I will respect your opinion. You know what I mean?
I watch the shows like 2 days after everyone does, so like I have a fresher, like it feels fresh, and that way I can go with a good mindset on it. So that way I'm not like into the like hearing the judgmental side or the good sides of anything, and I can just watch it for what it is.
For sure. I mean, I think you're right too, and the biggest thing is like, you know, the toxicity in wrestling, to me, it just doesn't make sense because I think and I speak from a business standpoint, right? Not as a fan perspective, because as a fan perspective, and I tell one of my friends, Billy, this all the time. I'm like, bro, turn off social media, turn off YouTube. Don't listen to what I say. Don't listen to what, you know, JD says. Don't listen to what Solid Monster says. Don't listen to what this person says. Don't listen to Wrestle Talk. Don't listen to any of these people, and just watch wrestling without reading comments, without reading tweets, without listening to other opinions. I was like, I promise you'll be happy with every product you watch. And he told me, he's like, dude, you're right. And I believe that. I believe that social media adds to the toxicity. I believe a lot of this does. And at the end of the day, you know, you got to cover or talk about it in a way that's non-biased. Like for me, I don't have a bias. Why? I grew up with WWE. I admit that WWE does a lot of shit wrong. But I look at AEW and I say, wow, AEW does a lot of shit wrong. Then I'll go live on YouTube or I'll make a video and I'll be like, you know, Impact since 2018 has been the best consistent wrestling show. And people are like, no way, TNA sucks. And it's like, well, it's not TNA anymore. Yeah, but Impact sucks, dude. I mean, all that stuff they were doing with Hulk Hogan and like Bobby Roode and like, you know, Main Event Mafia and this and that. And like, yeah, they suck.
I think it's also because like there's storylines where people just get into it more than less. Because like for me, there's like a storyline in every company. Like in the past 4 years, like I've hated to the point where like I was like, why do I even watch wrestling anymore? Because it's that bad.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
And then you'll get like tribalism fans where they'll attack you just because you say like, oh, that storyline was good, compared to like them saying like it's horrible. Like, what's so horrible about it?
It's crazy, dude. I don't know. It's weird, man. I love this. I hope this is real. I hope Cody Rhodes goes to AEW. Or I'm sorry, I hope he goes to WWE, because I want. First of all, I don't think people realize WWE, I don't know if they're going to be able to deny what Cody Rhodes was doing previously. That's how smart the wrestling community is in the audience. So
what's funny is he'd be a LeBron James to the Lakers. Would be you know, a mainstream thing that like people could latch onto about this kind of story.
This is more like him leaving Cleveland, going to Miami.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Not the Lakers. When he went from Cleveland to Miami. You know why?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because
yes.
he started AEW. Cody is responsible for AEW.
100%.
That is so mind-boggling to me. I literally can't believe it. It is 2022, February 15th, and we are talking about Cody Rhodes.
Don't forget to like the video.
Yeah, guys, you got to like this video. We got over 300 people watching. And 100 likes. Let's get some likes on here. Come on, let's get some likes. Dude, I cannot believe it. Holy shit, this is such a strange day.
It doesn't even feel real. Like that's like because I was not doing anything wrestling related this week, and then just hearing that just blows my mind.
There's a lot of people who believe that they think Cody is doing this whole thing for the Road to the Top season 2 finale.
That would be funny, because I actually watched like the first 3 episodes. I do gotta admit that show's really good though. It's like Ms. and Mrs. but on steroids.
There's people that believe that Cody Rhodes is joining Impact. What? Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who believe that he's going to Impact. It's like because he had liked something that was like retweeted a few weeks ago that like was just like, oh, he's going to Impact.
And if it's a work, hey, good on them, dude. I still think the public perception that's coming with it right now. Look how many people are talking shit right now about AEW and WWE. Look how many people have this opinion. And most of these opinions are actually negative, right? I'm reading a lot of negative opinions on this. Oh, Cody Rhodes is a traitor. Cody Rhodes is a snake. Cody Rhodes is this. Cody Rhodes is that.
I can't wait to read all those like fake wrestling journalists posting their 2 cents on the whole thing, acting like it's a good thing for clout.
So yeah, Fightful Select reported that AEW and Cody Rhodes were unable to reach a new agreement, and Cody Rhodes is headed to WWE. Interesting.
If I get any Observer updates, I'll pass you along them.
For sure, brother. For sure. Austin, thank you for joining me, my friend.
No problem, dude. Have a great day.
You too, man. Thanks for being a member as well. I appreciate you for extending it again.
Yeah, you guys all join, become a member, and like the video. Be like me. Be great.
Yes, be like Austin. Be great. Austin, thank you so much. I appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Yep, talk to you later.
For sure. Guys, that was Austin Baker. He's one of our VIP members. He's one of the members that subscribe to the channel. And $4.99 a month gets you Discord VIP access. You get early content and more perks. This channel, 7 days a week, I keep you updated with everything happening in pro wrestling. I give you my opinions. You might agree. You might disagree. That's okay. That's why we do this. We have conversations. Do I have any other members online? Let's see. Let's see if I have any other VIP in here. Let's see. AJ Marshall has just subscribed. Thank you, AJ. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. I might take one more caller. Let's see. How is everybody doing today? How are you all doing? You guys having a good day? You guys enjoying this? Tons of big news. Let's see if I can get Billy in here. This is the most insane shit I've ever seen since I have covered wrestling. Wild, man. Cool. This is fun. Let's see. Billy Davis.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Welcome to the live stream. You are live here on Angle YT. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Good. Thank you for being a VIP member to the channel. $4.99 a month. If you guys want to claim your perks, Discord VIP access, early content, all that good stuff, you could be cool just like Austin and Billy. You could also be cool like the names listed on the video ticker below. They are all part of the VIP members. Billy, thank you for joining the call. First impressions, Cody Rhodes in talks with WWE. The reports are coming out that he is intended to sign with WWE. What is your belief? What do you think? Drop your first impression.
So, first impression, man, I'll tell you, maybe I'm biased on this, but I like it. You know, I think it's, now again, maybe a biased opinion here.
Sure.
Maybe this is, something that AEW has to learn from. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because, all right, first off, we all know how big Cody was to AEW from the start, right?
Of course.
So now what we're about to learn, and what I feel we're about to learn, is how can AEW run with the ball after something so important leaves? Cody leaving is a huge hit to AEW, whether or not people like to believe it or not. It's a huge hit. This is going to play a big role in the future of AEW. My initial thoughts, good for Cody. I've built my own opinion, and my opinion lies here. Maybe WWE has a little more to offer when it comes down to the business side. He is now a father. These things play such an important factor into somebody's real life situation. So maybe WWE just had the better situation going forward, which again is why maybe him and AEW couldn't reach an agreement.
Yeah.
So my initial take is good for Cody. Wonderful for him. He deserves it. He's been great with AEW, with starting the company, and I think he'll do great wherever he goes, to be honest.
Really quick, I want to respond to some stuff in the chat because we're live and I don't really give a shit about really censoring myself.
Yes, sir.
So there's people who think I hate AEW. If you're pissed, if you're mad that I talk negatively about a wrestling company you enjoy, I think you're going to be the reason why these companies won't succeed long term, whether it's WWE, AEW, Impact, or whatnot. If you're bothered by a YouTuber who has 34,000 subscribers and he offers a little bit of critique to these wrestling companies, then I think you're the problem for these wrestling companies. I genuinely believe this. I'm not going to actually hold back on my thoughts because I think what's actually happening is I praise AEW a lot, and then the minute that I actually say something bad about AEW, it's like the AEW fans get pissed and mad. And that's cool if you want to get pissed and mad, but if you're that bothered by it, I'm pretty sure that you are the reason why when AEW makes a big decision, whether you like it or not, I think you're going to end up turning on AEW as well. And I think it is important for people to be able to praise and critique wrestlers. I think it is so important for the wrestling industry to have people who actually provide feedback, because at the end of the day, we put our money into this product. I pay money to go to these shows and to buy their pay-per-views. And if I cover wrestling for a living, I don't do it with a biasness. I'm just saying right now, personally speaking, I think WWE does too much 50-50 booking, too many DQs. And I say, holy shit, it's freaking annoying. It's bullshit. I don't enjoy when they do that. Like, you don't have to do that, right? And I praise how AEW does a fantastic job of being able to not do that. And then I praise WWE for how they book Damian Priest, the United States champion. But then I critique how AEW has booked Sammy Guevara. I am very level-headed. I think it is important for you to have genuine feedback and response to what is happening in wrestling. And honest to God, if you get bothered by somebody like me, who my voice is very small in the grand scheme of things, but if you're bothered by me telling you something negative, whether it's WWE or AEW, you are not fit to watch my channel, because at the end of the day, I'm not here to tell you everything you want to hear. I'm here just to talk about my personal feelings and my opinions. That's what I do here. And I think every company offers something good, and every company offers something pretty damn shitty. And I have to be real up and honest about it, because I think every company could do better, which is why I want Cody Rhodes in WWE. Billy, tell me if I'm crazy, but if Cody Rhodes goes to WWE, is there a chance that maybe WWE can actually improve their product by having Cody Rhodes in there? Is Cody Rhodes the name that makes WWE change a little bit?
100%. I mean, you got to think about it. First of all, he wanted to. Now, if we go back to when AEW started, and you are a person I could talk to about this because you've covered it. You've covered it for a long time. You definitely were there from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So Cody wanted to start a revolution, and he said in his statement that they did. They succeeded. They did just that, right?
Yeah.
WWE has dropped the ball. Look at how many talents they've released over the last, year, 2 years, however long it's been.
Yep.
You know, they wanted to make a change, which is fine. Again, you take wrestling for what it is. You don't have to necessarily critique everything that somebody does. Now, can we do it as fans? Absolutely. That's our voice. That's our opinion. We're allowed to do those. Do I think that you are crazy for saying that he could change WWE? Absolutely not. I mean, look at Triple H, for instance, falling down, getting hurt, dealing with things in NXT. That's a problem. Who can take over that and develop talent? I mean, well, I know somebody's father started NXT, or helped start NXT, excuse me. Now, as Cody is and how he portrays himself, you can see that it almost seems as if he wants to live on for his dad. No better way to do it than go to NXT, help build that talent, because that's what his father did. Now, again, do I think he's crazy? No. I think that, in fact, there is a chance that he can change it. You put him into the big storyline with Roman Reigns. I'm pretty sure he said he wanted to hang it up by 40. Fine, you can do that. He's a WWE guy at heart, whether people want to believe it or not. His brother, Dustin, spent countless years in WWE. He himself spent countless years in WWE. His father was a WWE man. And again, it all leads me back to the human Cody Rhodes. It all leads me back to the man Cody Rhodes. This is it's business. Yeah. It's strictly business. And at the end of the day, maybe they just have a little bit more to offer. And completely fine. You can hate it, you can love it, you can say whatever you want. Regardless, I think Cody's going to be a star wherever he goes. And in fact, all he did was make his value higher from when he was originally there.
Do you think AEW? Because I actually believe that if Cody Rhodes goes to to WWE, I think he actually benefits AEW by doing this. By the way,
Explain.
I think WWE cannot ignore where Cody Rhodes has been.
No,
And I think people who search Cody Rhodes will see that Cody Rhodes obviously was in WWE years ago, but I see that Cody, like if people see that Cody Rhodes is in WWE right now, for example, he shows up and people are searching for Cody, I think they'll see AEW and they'll come across AEW.
Yeah, it's something that definitely can't be ignored.
Keep in mind, there is an audience right now watching WWE who is not familiar with Cody Rhodes, by the way. Just keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Again, that goes back to the casual watcher, excuse me.
And they're young. They're young and they don't know because they didn't watch WWE when Cody Rhodes was there. You know
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely feel like Cody going to WWE could be, like you said, it's almost like it can't be ignored to what he's done within the past 3 years.
You know what I want to see?
Go ahead.
Stone Cold Steve Austin doing his podcast with Cody Rhodes. Broken Skull Sessions. Yeah,
that'd be really nice because, I mean, we got to see Chris Jericho. That's another thing that I wanted to touch up on a little bit.
Yeah.
We've seen Chris Jericho do it. Seeing Cody do it would be absolutely amazing because, again, you can't ignore what he's done. He's going to talk about AEW. He is going to go on there and he's going to talk about his time there. And whether it's real or whether it's not, that depends on the episode or whatever they got going on. But to hear and to see what they do moving forward, I think is going to tell a lot of the story, if you want me to be honest.
See, one thing that I want to mention too, because I do think it's important to mention, and maybe, maybe this is just me being a fan, but maybe Cody could open up doors between both companies. I don't know.
I've seen a lot of people on the internet saying that, like, oh, maybe this is them working together. And if so, great. I mean, I'm not against it.
All I know is I came out with the greatest tweet of all time.
Which one?
I tweeted something out at 10:24 a.m. and I said, AEW has traded Cody Rhodes and Brandi Rhodes to WWE for Shane McMahon.
I did see that tweet. No, man. This is such a and I think a lot more is going to come out here. You know what I mean? I feel like there's going to be much more to this story.
Hold on. We got something major. Something major. Hold on. TMZ has come out. Sources tell us there was a fallout between Cody and Tony recently as Khan's visibility within the company grew because Cody Rhodes isn't a fucking idiot and he knows that AEW should stop signing so many fucking goddamn wrestlers. Sorry.
Boom.
Sorry, guys.
It was live and in person. Let's talk about it, man.
Sorry. I wasn't trying to, wow, that is crazy. So, woo! I'm not shocked though, bro. I've been saying this for a long ass fucking time. How long have I been saying there are issues backstage at AEW?
I mean, we've had countless conversations about it. I mean, AEW, bro, they've signed way too much talent.
Oh, and people, listen really quick, not to cut you off, but people have criticized Ringside News for a while. But Ringside News actually had reports about their the fallouts between Cody and AEW and the EVPs and everything. And we covered this, we talked about this. And, one of these things that I brought up constantly was that there were rumors of backstage issues. Now, the problem is when people get pissed about the backstage issue talk, because, of course, you never know with how it goes with these reports and rumors and stuff. But whenever there's talk about backstage issues, Cody Rhodes, Young Bucks, Kenny, they played into it. The Young Bucks would change their Twitter bio and whatnot. So it's not like they were definitely they weren't denying it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And my biggest issue, and I'm going to say this, I think my biggest issue, if they truly had a fallout, Tony Khan is signing a lot of former WWE superstars. Cody Rhodes was at AEW because he started AEW, and he knew what the vision was supposed to be. And I said this. I said AEW has transitioned from what they are. They're not the same company anymore.
So do you believe that, and let me ask you this real fast, do you believe that what's happening to AEW is a lot of things that you've said prior are coming to the forefront.
100%.
100%?
100%. I think, and my opinion still doesn't change whether Cody actually returns to AEW or not. My belief is this. My belief is that Cody Rhodes is just the start. There has been a huge change in AEW, and I've talked about this, dude. And the reason why I talk about it with AEW versus WWE is because for the last few years, we've seen WWE go down the shitter. From like 2014 to like now, we have seen signs of greatness from WWE, but at the end of the day, WWE would go downhill, then they would go back up. AEW started off so freaking hot. It was like the tipping point was like from immediately when they began, and then it went down.
It was almost destined to fall.
It was almost destined to fall, and now we're starting to see it fall. But the problem is, I've been saying for years now, it's going to fall at some point. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing for AEW. Again, I'm not saying that AEW is going to die. I'm not saying that this is an issue for AEW. You could put a Band-Aid on it. You could fix it. You can fix this. But you got to realize what made you an exciting place.
And I feel like again, don't want to cut you off or anything.
No, you're good. You're good.
I feel that maybe that's the thing that they've kind of lost touch with, is that thing that made them so special in the first place. They've lost, because what I pictured AEW when they first started, right? My picture was, I'm going to see new faces. I get an alternative to what WWE is. WWE was obviously always the mainstream.
Yep.
AEW, and I don't want to sit here and bash and beat the shit out of them for, whatever. But I want to say that I'm almost seeing signs of a former company that we all have heard and know about, WCW. And then also there's signs of a young TNA going on, it feels like. That's what I'm seeing from this. It doesn't feel like an alternative anymore. It just feels like somebody who wants to compete. When I signed up for AEW, when I was a fan ready to watch, I wasn't signing up to see competition. I was signing up to see new, exciting, extravagant, all those things. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Oh, it does, dude. I mean, I've seen you defend AEW left and right, and I think
I was the biggest AEW defender.
There's people that look, here's what I'll say. I'll say that this is what I will say. People could take it how they want, but I'm just gonna shoot straight. AEW has found themselves to be in a situation where the alternative that they promised to be, they realize is not a good business option. It's not a good business plan.
And that's just the sad truth that maybe they haven't even. In fact, they haven't said it publicly to where, like, okay, maybe that route that we were going to take wasn't the best route. Instead, they've just gone on to do their shows and not mention any of it. But us as fans can see the change. We know what's happening. We're watching it.
Dude, the thing is, I don't think Tony Khan is the issue.
No, I don't believe so either. Go ahead.
I think Tony Khan is not the issue. I think Tony Khan, to be honest with you, I mean, I could be wrong here. I don't know. I'm not backstage. I don't talk to Tony Khan on a daily basis, so I can't say for sure. But the way I'm looking at this is I think Tony Khan had something very, very special. And granted, I think the pandemic did screw up a lot of things for him. But also at the same time, too, like I look at certain things and I realize, I'm like, dude, I think AEW just has too many hands in the kitchen, too many hands in the pot. And when you have an issue like this, I think it causes issues. And we've seen issues before being reported, backstage issues with Kenny and the Bucks and Cody and whatnot. And, when I see something like this, I got to be completely honest with you guys. Like, not just you and not just my viewers, but even to myself. It's like, these could be reports, and you could make opinions based on the reports. But take out the reports, right? Remove the reports from the situation, and then realize exactly what you're talking about. And how can you talk about something if there's no reports, right? Bear with me. You watch the product. You watch the product and you realize, holy shit, it's all over the place. There's got to be something going on. So if you take out all the reports from the equation, I can watch the show and be like, there is clearly something going on because it is not as structured. It is not the same as it used to be.
Absolutely. That's the thing. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't. Again, we're getting random matches all over the place. Who does this sound like? Well, it sounds like a 50-50 booking. WWE is who it sounds like to me. again, you've talked about it countless times, the win and loss record. Where do those things come into play? I hate to bet.
Yeah, don't even get me started on wins and loss record, because that is the biggest pile of shit ever. So
Yeah, like, okay, why is that still a thing? Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different topic, but man, is it a big factor into what you think about? And again, to the people who aren't saying anything and watching and defending it, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but go back and maybe scroll on YouTube a little bit. Go back and go look at how important it was to them for this wins and loss records. They wanted this to be a sport. And what did it become? It became just what WWE was. Storylines, wrestling, what we know, what we watch, entertainment.
Even that, bro, I've been saying for a while, it's hit or miss with entertainment. Like, to me, Lance Archer and Hangman Page, there was no reason for me to watch it. That match itself shouldn't even been the main event of that show, because John Moxley and CM Punk was a way bigger deal. MJF and all that shit was a way bigger deal. Like, bro, there was so much more that was a bigger deal. Keith Lee and Sammy Guevara, Isaiah Cassidy. Like, you have all this different stuff. That match didn't need to do it. And I'm not trying to make this like an AEW bash fest, because it's definitely not. And I know people will take things and run with it and whatnot, because I still have a lot of praise for AEW. But my point that I'm making is, it's just not the same company anymore. So when I know that it's not the same company anymore, and I could clearly see how they've transitioned, whether Cody Rhodes actually leaves AEW or not, it doesn't change the fact that somebody will. Other people are now finally starting to wake up and starting to realize, oh my God, yeah, you know what? They do make mistakes. And that's okay. That's how television works. I swear to God, I watched Game of Thrones. All right, perfect example. I watched Game of Thrones. Billy, did you watch Game of Thrones?
I've touched on it a little bit.
All right, put it this way. Anybody who watches Game of Thrones will tell you the first season's kind of slow. The rest of the seasons are really, really good. It picks up. And then the finale, the ending, is absolutely shitty, right?
Yeah, okay.
Now, we're in the wrestling bubble. We have a wrestling community. But for people who enjoy television and Game of Thrones, and people who nerd out for Game of Thrones, they were absolutely distraught, right?
Yeah.
But they don't have this tribalism to Game of Thrones like wrestlers have to AEW or WWE.
Yes.
And that is what we need to get to. We need to get to the point where there's not this tribalism, because at the end of the day, when you can start having real conversations, and this is what I believe, when you can start having real conversations about the impact of these shows, whether you think they're good or whether you think they're bad, I think everybody has a voice. And I think wrestling fans' voices should be listened to. I think wrestling fans of all kind, if you were to have like a study group, right? I wouldn't just have one voice. I wouldn't just have a hardcore fan. I'd have a casual fan. I'd have a couple YouTubers. I'd have a couple normal fans, a young fan, older fan. And I would try to learn and pick their mind, because at the end of the day, I think everybody collectively would have a good product. And believe it or not, I think WWE has had that in the past. And I think AEW had that in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now what happens is WWE kind of narrowed in on, okay, well, we're making this content for kids, which not even really for kids anymore, but it became very childish. And then AEW was like, okay, we're focusing on this hardcore audience. I think wrestling fans in general collectively come together and have great opinions on wrestling. And that's what it needs to get to. I personally believe that's what it needs to get to. But I will also say this too. AEW losing Cody Rhodes is a massive deal for AEW. But the real question is this. What will AEW do later to fix this?
Again, what's going to be the Band-Aid to this? I think you said it best earlier. What's going to be the Band-Aid to Cody leaving? Because obviously we all know, and you can deny the fact, you can call him whatever you want, you can say whatever you want, but the real fact here is he played a major part in AEW, whether you like to believe it or not. He was a huge deal. Whether you liked him as a character, it doesn't matter. He played a huge part. How do they fix this Band-Aid? What is going to be the thing that is going to, I mean, I'm not going to say keep him alive, because, obviously I think AEW is going to be fine, but what's that thing that's going to fix this is really what it comes down to.
Dude, I don't know. It just goes to show you that all these people that thought WWE was going to die and they're shitty and they're garbage and blah, 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 blah. It's just not true, man. And it goes to show you that we need more players in wrestling. And it goes back to what I said specifically. We need to have a fourth major company.
Yeah, you've been saying that, man.
I've been saying it. For those who criticize Impact and they don't, oh, I can't watch Impact. I can't watch it because of this, this, and this. All right, don't watch Impact, no problem. But then when AEW struggles or if WWE struggles and you're wondering why this wrestling industry is in the fucking mud, it's because people are too worried about being tribalist and not fucking actually watching the product. Like, it would be different, Billy. It'd be different if I talked shit about AEW, but like didn't actually watch AEW and cover AEW for a living. It would be really strange for me to tell you that WWE Raw sucks if I'm not watching WWE Raw.
Absolutely.
But when I watch WWE Raw and I say, you know what? I'm really sick and tired of every match having a DQ. I can have that opinion. Why? Because I cover it for a living and I watch it every week. And I'm noticing something that's factually happening, right? I'm not coming up with an opinion. I'm proving my argument saying, yeah, WWE Raw, man, like there's every match has a DQ or whatever. Now, WWE is big. AEW is big. But we should have more options. Right now, as it stands, you have WWE, AEW, Impact, ROH is on a hiatus. They're coming back. You have GCW, which is a super indie. But at the end of the day, when it comes to television wrestling, you got WWE, AEW, and Impact. All three have very good, and all three have something missing. But I think if you get some billionaires involved in this industry, it could be a really good thing for the industry. Now, the problem is, though, if I'm a billionaire and if I'm a billionaire and I'm looking at Ango's comment section or Ango's chat and I see people who are getting pissed, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm staying away from them.
Yeah, maybe it's not the best option for me. I agree with that. No, I think all this kind of, it's just an example, I think, of, first of all, fans in wrestling and, taking things at face value. You know what I mean? They're only seeing the forefront.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, there's no, I hate to break it to you, but it doesn't feel that this has any alternative. There's no alternative to the two, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, this is the strangest thing I've ever seen. It's like, I don't know, man. In a weird way, it's cool to see that like a major change is happening because this is a major shift. This is good for wrestling, by the way. I want people to know, if you're one of the people watching this stream, I think this is fantastic for wrestling, because it's important to know that when a big change happens. And by the way, I say this is a good thing, just like I said it was when Moxley and Bryan Danielson went to AEW. Having a major name leave the competitive company to the other one, whether I'm a fan of it or not, I could still make sense of it and say this is good for the business in general, and I do feel that way with Cody Rhodes. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be interesting. I want to address a comment really quick from the chat. Randy, you said there is more wrong with WWE than DQ finishes, than Vince is putting over his favorites and alienating his whole roster. Randy, I appreciate your chat. I'm going to answer this, though, because I really want to address this. I don't really care who Vince puts over, because at the end of the day, if it's a good story, that's all that really matters to me. But if AEW does the same thing, I also wouldn't be mad. If AEW did DQ finishes all the time, I would be mad. You know why? Because I think DQ finishes are a fucking cheap-ass way to progress the show. And I think that is self-inflicted. That's a self-inflicted wound. You didn't have to book a DQ match, because if you felt like you had to do a DQ to finish that match, you probably shouldn't have booked that match in the beginning. So if Vince wants to put over Reigns and Lesnar, I really don't give a shit, because to be honest with you, the storyline that they're doing right now is really good TV. Just like I don't really care for Kenny Omega, but Kenny Omega and Hangman Page for 2 years was the best storyline AEW has ever had. So my belief is that at the end of the day, the DQ finishes is what's really making WWE perceived as a bad product. Also, the Disciple of Hell, I agree with you. I believe this can reduce the tribalism. I do agree.
I agree. I agree big time.
I definitely agree with that. So it's very, very interesting stuff. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know, man. This is a very, very interesting day in pro wrestling. As we get more information, guys, I'll be bringing you updates. Billy, thank you for joining me, by the way.
Absolutely, brother.
Thank you for being a VIP member, taking advantage of all the new perks. $4.99 a month, guys. $4.99 a month. Discord VIP access, early content, more perks, all that good stuff. Billy, thank you for joining. I will talk to you shortly. Okay,
brother.
Appreciate you. All right, guys. That was Billy Davis. Billy Davis is one of our VIP members. Don't talk to me about these Bray Wyatt videos. By the way, those Bray Wyatt videos are fake as shit. Randy, let me counter this argument. If you don't care, that means you don't get new stars and you get the same old, same old. Here's the thing, though. I actually know when I watch WWE what I'm getting involved in. I know that they're not trying to make new stars, and it sucks. And it sucks that they're not creating new stars. But they have a product called NXT 2.0 where they're trying to develop new stars, and people don't want to watch it. So I know that Raw and SmackDown right now, you're 100% right, by the way. But at the end of the day, I'm more invested in the storylines than the actual wrestlers. That's not the most popular opinion, but that's one of the things I believe. So just kind of keep that in mind. I'm a storyline driven kind of guy. Anyways, guys, that is it for the stream. I got to go eat some lunch. We got to get some stuff to do, and we'll be back. Stay tuned to the channel. I'll be bringing you guys some more updates as they come out, okay? Thank you guys for watching.